This show is brought to you by KetConnection.com, draft beverage supplies and solutions. KetConnection has the experience and the expertise to get you set up. Tap your favorite craft beer, homebrew, wine, cold brew, kombucha, sparkling water, and more at home with ease using a KetConnection.com dispensing kit. Go to KetConnection.com, use our promo code BNW, that's for Booze News Weekly, and save 10% off your first order. Some restrictions may apply. Visit KetConnection.com for more details. Coming up on this episode of Booze News Weekly, founders of Squatters Brewery buy back restaurants and brewpubs, Kona Brewery opens a new facility, and the Brewers Association updates its style guidelines. It's Monday, February 28th, 2022. Welcome to this episode of Booze News Weekly, your source for weekly beverage industry news and commentary delivered quickly and conveniently. My name is Joshua Stubing. If you haven't already, make sure you click that like button below, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification icon to make sure you never miss an episode. Now let's take a look at the headlines of the week. Our first headline comes from the Salt Lake City Tribune. Founders of Squatters are buying back the label's restaurants and Wasatch brewpubs. The founders of Squatters Brewery are buying back the 6 Utah restaurants and brewpubs that bear the Squatters and Wasatch names, removing uncertainty over the location's fate when a major beverage company acquired the beer labels. PRC Restaurant Group, co-owned by Squatters Brewery founders Pete Cole and Jeff Polychronis, announced Thursday it is acquiring the parent company of Salt Lake Brewing Company, which owns the 6 restaurants and brewpubs under the Squatters and Wasatch brands. Terms of the deal were not disclosed. The brands were part of Canarchy, a Colorado-based craft brewing collective. In mid-January, Monster Beverage Corporation acquired Canarchy, the beverage company's first foray into the beer business. When Monster bought Canarchy, though, it was only for the beer labels and not the physical restaurants and tap rooms. Quote, Peter and I have known for some time that it was a possibility there for that to happen because the focus of Canarchy was purely in breweries and not in restaurants, Polychronis said. So we talked to them a while back, and there was some moderate interest. Once they decided to do this deal with Monster, they become more motivated to do something with the restaurants as well. Cole and Polychronis put together an investment group, which included Century Financial, a Salt Lake City boutique investment firm, and some other investors in Salt Lake City and Park City. Negotiations began mid-December, Polychronis said, and they signed a commitment letter on January 14th, closing the deal this past Thursday. Quote, it all happened very quickly, Polychronis said. The deal covers 6 restaurants under the 2 labels, Squatters and Wasatch, each having locations in Park City and the Salt Lake City International Airport. Squatters' downtown Salt Lake City location at 147 West 300 South, and Wasatch's Sugar House Brewpub at 2110 South Highland Drive. Also in the deal is Craft Cafe, a central kitchen west of the airport. Under the deal, all of those locations will remain open and retain all 300 of its current employees. The restaurants and brewpubs will continue to serve Squatters and Wasatch beers, though now the restaurants have to purchase them from Monster. Monet Madsen, who had been vice president of brewpubs and taprooms, will be the new CEO for Salt Lake Brewing Company. Wasatch is Utah's oldest microbrewery, founded in 1986. Cole and Polychronis founded Squatters in 1989, then sold Salt Lake Brewing Company to Canarchy in 2012. Quote, it's come full circle, Polychronis said. We didn't want the locations to go away or for them to not be what they are, so we thought we were the best people to do this. Having an investment group that's entirely local is important, Polychronis continued, because Squatters and Wasatch have been historically very community-oriented, both in Park City and Salt Lake City. I think maybe that's gotten lost a little bit over the last few years with out-of-state ownership and big corporate ownership. So we're committing to get back to our roots and continue our community involvement and make this truly a local company again. Moving on, our next headline comes from WestHawaiiToday.com. Kona Brewing Company marks official opening of state-of-the-art brewery and canning operation. Kona Brewing Company recently marked the official opening of its new state-of-the-art brewery in Kailua, Kona. The 30,000 square foot brewery located off Powai Place in the Old Kona industrial area will produce 100,000 barrels of liquid aloha annually. 10 times the current production capacity of its original brewery that opened over a quarter century ago at the end of the same road. All that beer will stay in-state, sold either in kegs or cans. Quote, "If you can brew beer anywhere in the world, why not here in Kona?" mused Kona Brewing Company's president Billy Smith during a tour of the high-tech, sustainable, and environmentally friendly facility. According to Smith, the new facility boasts 1,211 solar panels, which will provide about half the power needed to run the brewery, a water recovery system, methane gas reclamation to power generators, and a CO2 capture system. Quote, "We are a very unique brewery, especially out here in the middle of the Pacific," said Smith, "and we are committed to zero waste." Also new to the facility is a canning operation that can output 220 cans of the Kona brews per minute. Smith said the canning process used will keep beer fresher for in-state consumption. Beer in glass bottles will continue to be manufactured on the mainland. As designed, the new brewery, which cost over $20 million, can produce 8 to 9 different beers at a time, ranging from standards like Longboard and Big Wave to backyard batches only available in the tasting room and brew pub. On Monday, the tasting room featured a special brew, Purple Grain, a unique ale brewed with grains of paradise and French lavender. The team has been brewing batches of beer at the new brewery since March 2021 after moving from its original facility adjacent to the brew pub and growler shack. Tours began being offered in late 2021, though Monday's blessing marked the official opening of the brewery. Tours available for $20 include tasting, and you can book them at konabrewinghawaii.com. And wrapping up this episode from brewersassociation.org, Brewers Association updates beer style guidelines to add clarity across multiple categories. No new styles added this year. The updates focus on refreshing existing styles. The Brewers Association released its beer style guidelines for 2022. Reviewed and revised annually by the BA, these guidelines serve as a model resource for brewers, beer judges, and competition organizers to celebrate the great diversity of beer around the world. The Brewers Association has compiled beer-style guidelines and descriptions since 1979 to aid brewers, drinkers, competition organizers, and judges alike. Categorizing such a complex beverage as beer is difficult and multifaceted challenges. The Brewers Association relies on beer industry experts, physical beer analysis, and sources from commercial brewers from around the world as guides to craft this resource. Although there are no new style additions this year, many significant revisions, clarifications, and hundreds of punctuation and grammar corrections were made, especially in the following categories and areas: experimental IPA, session beer, session IPA, standardized verbiage in juicy or hazy styles, traditional Belgian style Goza, I definitely probably butchered that, Bohemian style Pilsner, American lager categories, American style IPLs, specialty beer, and chili beer. A few examples of significant updates include adding several hybrid IPA styles to the experimental IPA category, modernizing session beer and session IPA to adjust the lower end of ABV to 0.5% as brewer interest in lower ABV beers has increased rapidly over the past 2 years, and standardizing language on juicy or hazy styles based on brewer and judge feedback, and also adding verbiage about, quote, hop burn. As the craft beer landscape continues to evolve, we want to ensure that our beer style guidelines continue to be a trusted resource worldwide and are in stride with the innovation that continues to be brought forward, said Chris Swersey, competition director for the Brewers Association. Quote, "We took 2022 as a year to focus on housekeeping, to address some discrepancies within the existing beer styles, and for a small number of significant updates to certain beer styles. The beer style guidelines are a direct product and blend of historical significance, traditional authenticity, and popularity in the current craft beer consumer market. Adding in a style or modifying an existing style of beer is taken very seriously and can only be done after extensive expert consultation, research, and analysis of market factors. That process takes in an array of elements and can take a long period of time to complete. Another consideration when adding or modifying a style guideline is that commercially available examples are always in flux and may not be representative of historical versions or records of the style. Quote, with so many diverse beers being made, we rely on expert feedback to help identify categories that need an update to ensure the beer style guidelines remains as current and relevant as possible, said Swersey. Also, he continued, we are grateful for the feedback provided by drinkers, brewers, and judges alike from around the world, which helps us compile this trusted resource for the greater craft brewing community, and which in turn improves our shared understanding of international beer styles. I felt like I was in a cadence there of da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. But anyways, with that aside, it's not uncommon, right, for the beer style guidelines to get updated. I'm curious, let me know in the comments how many of you, especially if you're not a home brewer, even read the style guidelines. My anecdotal bubble, very blinder experience, because I don't get out a lot and I don't have a lot of friends, is that a lot of people just drink what they like. The style guidelines isn't necessarily for the consumer, the drinker, as much as it is for the brewers to be able to market what they're making appropriately, and also for competitions, right? For World Beer Cup, for commercial brewers, or for the American Homebrewers Association's National Homebrew Competition for homebrewers, you have to submit within guidelines. And so I know that's when it's very important to make sure you're within style, because if I submitted a very hoppy Kolsch in the Kolsch category, they go, oh man, it may not taste bad, but this is not in style. But again, I'd be interested to know, if you are not a home brewer, if you're just interested in craft beer, do the style guidelines matter much to you, or is this just much ado about nothing and cool, way to go, Brewers Association for updating something? And that's it for this week. If you have any tips or industry news, email it to me, joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com, or use the hashtag BNW on social media. You can find this episode and so much more content and articles available at homebrewhappyhour.com. Make sure you visit our sponsor, kegconnection.com, and use our promo code BNW for 10% off your order. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.